Don't know what tools to buy for your first day as an electrician? Let's fix that. This is the bare minimum list that will ensure you hit the ground running without wasting cash. That does not mean they're the cheapest options, but they're the best value in the long run. I'm not sponsored by anyone. Everything here comes from my own experience. Hey, my name is Dustin. I'm a licensed master electrician. Welcome to this episode of Smarter Sparky. Number one, a 25-foot tape measure. A 25-foot wide blade tape measure. No longer, no shorter. 25 feet is the sweet spot. Wide blade means the tape is wider and more rigid, allowing it to stand out even farther without collapsing, which you will appreciate when measuring overhead or across a room. You're gonna want to avoid these cheap homeowner grade tape measures. They're too thin, they flex too easy, and they will not survive daily job site abuse. I've always liked the Stanley Fat Max. I've had this one for quite a few years. Some tape measures come with a magnet on the hook. This is totally personal preference. I don't prefer magnetized heads myself, but many electricians like them for metal surfaces. Milwaukee and Klein make solid options as well. Expect to spend about $25 to $30 for a good tape measure. Number two, a 5-in-1 screwdriver. A 5-in-1 screwdriver is a super useful space-saving tool that lets you carry one driver while still having multiple common sizes available. Don't be tempted to buy an 11, 16, or 27-in-1. As a beginner, you won't use most of those extra bits often enough to justify carrying them. I've seen many new apprentices show up with one of these large multi-drivers, and by the end of the first week, half the bits are already missing. The bigger sets can be added later in your career, but for now, just stick with a 5-in-1. It has every bit you'll actually need as a new electrician, and there are fewer pieces to lose. You're also going to want to avoid models that ratchet. You can upgrade to a ratcheting driver later if you decide you need one. I suggest the standard Klein 5-in-1. Expect to spend about $10 to $15 for a 5-in-1 screwdriver. Number three, a dedicated number 2 Phillips. A dedicated number 2 Phillips screwdriver is still important, even though your 5-in-1 already includes one. And the reason is simple. The 5-in-1 has a much thicker shank and it won't fit into tight or recessed spots. A standalone screwdriver has a slimmer profile so it can reach in the places a multi-driver can't. The number 2 Phillips is the most common screw you'll run into in the electrical trade. Device screws, equipment covers, panel hardware, and fixture screws, they almost always incorporate a number 2. So having the proper driver that's comfortable and easy to control makes a big difference. I recommend a non-insulated Klein or Milwaukee number 2 Phillips. Expect to spend around $10 to $12 for a good dedicated number 2. Number 4, 3/16 slotted screwdriver. For the same reason we need a dedicated number 2 Phillips, we also want a dedicated 3/16 inch slotted or flat screwdriver. The slimmer 3/16 inch shank makes it much easier to reach into tight spots or recessed spots, allowing you to get to fasteners the multi-driver might be able to fit. I suggest a non-insulated Klein or Milwaukee. It is really important that you never use your flat screwdriver as a chisel. I made this mistake when I was new and I ruined quite a few good screwdrivers in the process. If you ever feel tempted to hammer on the back of your flat, get a dedicated demolition screwdriver instead. This Klein model is a good example. It's got a metal strike cap and the shank runs all the way through the handle and makes contact with that strike plate. You'll see mine's been used and abused over the years, which definitely shows how much work these things get. A standard flat screwdriver's shank only goes up partway through the handle, so hammering on it will destroy it. Expect to spend around $10 to $12 for a dedicated slotted screwdriver. Demolition screwdrivers are around $20, but they're actually not on my recommended list for day one. Number 5, a 6-inch torpedo level. A good 6-inch billet aluminum torpedo level is essential. Billet means it's made from solid aluminum, not plastic. Avoid plastic levels as they won't stand up to daily job site use. In the field, electricians are constantly checking items for level and plumb. You'll use a level to ensure conduit runs are straight, boxes are plumb, project reference lines, and even when bending conduit. Some torpedo levels have a thumb screw on the end, which lets you clamp the level on the end of a conduit to ensure bends are made in the same plane. This is called a no-dog or an anti-dog style level. I recommend getting a torpedo level with the no-dog function built in so you don't need to buy a separate tool. Some electricians prefer a separate no-dog level, but for beginners, the built-in option is convenient and sufficient. Good brands for torpedo levels include Empire, Klein, Milwaukee, Swanson, Johnson, and Ideal. You can expect to spend about $20 to $35 for a good level. Number 6, a 16-ounce hammer. A 16-ounce claw hammer is the standard hammer for electricians. It's not just used for nails. We use it for pounding in stakes, driving in anchors, adding shim wedges, and other percussive persuasion on the job. Don't get a ball peen hammer. It's not useful for general electrical work. Also, don't get a wooden handle. A solid fiberglass or steel handle will last longer and stand up to daily job site use. Some bigger electricians might consider a 20-ounce hammer, but a 16-ounce hammer is more than sufficient for day-to-day work. Anything smaller than 16-ounce might not perform very well. Here's my 16-ounce hammer, which I've used extensively in the field for the last 10 years. I think it's a Vaughan brand, but as you can see, all the identifying marks have worn off. Estwing is another good hammer manufacturer, but honestly, any fiberglass or steel-handled 16-ounce claw hammer will do. Expect to spend around $30 for a quality 16-ounce hammer. Number 7, a knife. A standard replaceable razor blade is a must-have for electricians. Solid-handled knives are good, but I personally prefer the folding style and actually carry mine in my pocket all the time. Here's my folding knife. It's one of the original Milwaukee fastbacks. The newer models of these things actually look a lot nicer, and they've actually got extra blade storage built into it. That's one of the things I don't like about this one. There's no extra blade storage, but the newer ones solve that problem. One of the biggest advantages of a replaceable blade knife is that when the blade gets dull, you can simply swap it out for a new one. This beats fixed blade knives that need to be sharpened. Nobody's got time for that on a job site. Make sure you dispose of your used razor blades safely. I don't recommend getting a curved blade electrician knife for your first day. If you want to try one in the future, try one in the field first to see if you like it, but I've personally never liked them myself. Good brands for folding knives include Milwaukee, Klein, Husky, DeWalt, and Cobalt. Expect to spend around 10 to 15 bucks for a quality folding razor knife. Number 8, channel lock pliers. Channel lock is actually a brand name, but that's what most people call them. The proper name is water pump pliers. You're going to want 2 of them. These are essential for electricians. They're used for gripping, turning, and holding conduit, fittings, and other hardware. I own many channel lock brand pliers, and I've used them extensively throughout my career. But I've recently converted over to the Knipex Cobra series, which is what I now recommend. And yes, I know it looks like it should be pronounced Knipex, but it's a German company and they pronounce it Knipex. They are expensive. A set of 10-inch and 7-inch pliers cost around $75. It might seem silly to spend that much on pliers, but I've seen a lot of new apprentices come in with standard water pump pliers, only to come back the next week with the Knipex brand because they are so much better. The budget pliers then sit unused, ultimately wasting money. So if you can afford it, these are well worth the investment as they just grip so much better than standard water pump pliers. If money is tight, standard channel lock brand water pump pliers are perfectly serviceable for day-to-day work. I still use mine in my workshop at home. Other manufacturers like Klein and Milwaukee also make basic water pump pliers. Expect to spend between $35 and $75 for a good pair of water pump pliers. Number 9, a flashlight. A reliable light source is essential for electricians on the job. You'll often find yourself in dark spaces or on job sites with no power yet, so having a light you can grab at a moment's notice is critical. Cell phone lights can be useful in a pinch, but they shouldn't be relied upon for real work. I recommend a rechargeable headlamp, which keeps your hands free while working, and is much more practical than a handheld flashlight. But I'm gonna go off script here a little bit. I always carry a rechargeable flashlight in my pocket as well, and this has come in handy also. If the lights go out while you're in the middle of working, you can reach down in your pocket, grab your flashlight, and get some light in the situation. I use a Klein rechargeable headlamp, but there are many other good options, and Milwaukee makes some nice models as well. Expect to spend $40 to $60 for a quality headlamp. Sure, there are budget models on Amazon, but they might not stand up to the demands of a construction environment. Number 10, lineman's pliers. Lineman's pliers are incredibly versatile and a must-have for electricians. They can be used for cutting, twisting, bending, gripping, pulling, and and prying. Some models even include a crimping function, adding even more utility. They're also excellent for pulling steel fish tapes, and while not their intended use, many electricians will occasionally use them as an improvised hammer. A lineman's pliers may not be used every single day, but when the need arises, they can truly save the day. Klein Tools is well known for their lineman's pliers and is generally considered the best source. Other manufacturers like Milwaukee and Knipex also make quality lineman's pliers. Expect to spend around $35 to $45 for a good pair of lineman's pliers. Number 11. Wire strippers. Wire strippers are one of the most important tools for electricians because they directly work with the whole point of the trade. Wires. Wire strippers remove insulation from the ends of conductors so they can be properly terminated. Wire strippers come in different shapes and sizes, but a basic pair will get you by just fine. I personally prefer wire strippers with built-in needle nose pliers, which is just to add extra versatility. Some wire strippers also include additional features like a wire bending hole or small screw cutters, which can be handy. I do not recommend getting automatic wire strippers for day-to-day use. They're cool and useful if you're stripping hundreds of wires, but for everyday work, they're not necessary. Expect to spend around $20 for a good pair of wire strippers. Klein, Milwaukee, and Ideal make solid options. Number 12, diagonal cutters. Diagonal cutters are another extremely versatile tool for electricians. They're not only great for cutting wires, but also for trimming cable ties and removing staples or other fasteners. I strongly recommend choosing a pair labeled heavy duty. Diagonal cutters often get abused on the job, and the heavy duty versions tend to hold up much better over time. Expect to spend around $35 for a good pair. Klein and Milwaukee make solid options. Knipex also makes excellent diagonal cutters, though they're way more expensive. Number 13, tool pouch. After investing all this money in your tools, it's important to keep track of them. A proper tool pouch or tote is essential. I've worked with apprentices who have come in with loose tools and they end up losing them very quickly. Over the years, I've tried many different tool storage options, and my suggestion might be a little controversial. I do not recommend a traditional tool belt. For years, I wore one, and all it did was put unnecessary strain on my hips. Many of the journeymen I've worked with finished their careers with hip problems because of tool belts. Instead, I suggest some sort of tool carrier. For example, here's my Vito pack that I absolutely love. I wish I'd started with something like this. Now, this Vito pack cost about $100, but honestly, a simpler option from Home Depot for $50 is more than enough, and it's gonna give you plenty of room to grow as you add more tools. Here's a Husky brand tool tote from Home Depot that I use just for the tools here in my studio, and it would work totally fine out in the field. Remember, this list is the bare minimum. After your first day, you might need to head back to the store to get some specific items for the job you'll be doing. Most crews are pretty understanding of this and typically don't mind, even if you have to wait until your next paycheck to add some additional items. Here are my main tools, and as you can see, there's way more items here than we've covered. Most of this gear I've added gradually as I've ran into situations where I've needed something specific. Perhaps in a future video, I can show what tools I carry day to day. If you've made it this far, I'd very much appreciate a like on the video and consider a subscription. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.